Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Florida Relocation Guide. I am your host, Adam Hancock, once again. And today's video is really for two crowds. It's for the people that are considering moving to Florida on the fence collective, as well as the people that are fully in transit, whether that's in their mind or they already have a house under contract and are on their way to moving. We're going to talk about 5 really important both misconceptions and even things that you don't realize now, but in a year or two from now, when you're here settled, you're going to be like, that makes a lot of sense, of stuff that you can't possibly consider until you're already here. So I really hope you enjoyed today's take as we start our new year in 2024, which is crazy. If you haven't already grabbed our 2024 digital free downloadable guide / flip book, get your hands on that. We'll try to have links pop up. It's in the description box below. A lot of places to find it. It's on the website, everything in between. And without further ado, thank you guys for joining us once again, and let's get started. Okay, the first one on my list, I want to kick it off and really talk to the crowd of haven't moved to Florida yet, still considering. And the concept here is, why are you still waiting? And trust me, I'm very empathetic to why people have not purchased yet. You know, real estate instability for one, low inventory and scarcity for 2, buyer fatigue. I've talked to a lot of people that were talking to me in 2020 that have not purchased yet, and they've gone through all of this and more, like 3% interest rates to 7% interest rates to eBay style bidding for homes, everything in between. The one thing I would just ask you to consider is, have you taken a real fresh look at do all of those still hold the same weight as they did a year ago? If you're looking in January 2024 and you weren't already in the previous market with all of that perspective, which is valuable, but also could be a hindrance, have you taken a fresh look? You know, there's a lot of consensus right now from a lot of people that used to not agree that interest rates are going to come down several times in the next year or two. There's also a lot of consensus at the same time that they're not going to 3% again, right? I wish we wouldn't have had that perspective, and I didn't get to play in that game. It was a timing thing of that perspective of where we knew they were 3, but in human history, that hasn't been the case for a long period of time, right? So we know they're going to be more normal. They're going to be in the 6s, high 5s if you're lucky, right? But at least you know somewhat that it's going to stay there. And we also know that inventory isn't going to go on most markets in Florida that people want to be in. It's not going to go to 7 months. And it's going to be considered a seller's market for a long period of time because there's a lot more migration than there is homes. But at the same time, we know that that who's going to solve that problem is new home builders. That's what they're going to satiate. There's affordability problems, there's housing shortages problems, and there's a lot of land. So these guys are going to solve it. So that's where you can lean. That's where there's leverage. And inventory isn't public record on new home builders, right? So them building 1,500 home neighborhoods every 4 seconds in Lakewood Ranch doesn't play in the month's inventory on market, right? So it's a little bit of a misnomer. To me, like, we're coming out of one of the craziest periods of all time, right? And what you want is, it's not going to be perfect, but you want to be able to make a decision now that you feel like might be similar later. You want no regrets. Most people want no regrets. It can't be perfect. You don't want to look back, but you want to be able to make a decision where you're like, at this time, I had the most information possible to make this decision. And I feel like we're in one of the periods in a long time right now that is more true than it's been in the past. The other thing, as I end this little one, I just want to throw out there is quality of life. Florida, more than Texas, more than a lot of these places, the quality of life in the Sarasota, Tampa, Naples area is tricky to compare. And I'm as economics guy as it gets. I am always going to talk about your money before I talk about how pretty the beach is. But we relocate a lot of people. Half of my team here at SSC, agent-wise, I've relocated. I know how these people act still 4 years removed from their move to Florida, when they talked about it for 25 years. My parents moved here 30 years ago, and they were right around Siesta Key, like they just got here. And I think if you don't take a huge financial hit, I think entering into the Florida market, most people say they wish they would have done it sooner. The landed cost of every single day, beyond the state income tax and all that, every single day being pumped to be here, it's interesting. It's different than any locals act. It's different than anyone that I've ever seen, right? And that's the general energy of these places. So I want to throw those 2 elements out. Have you taken a fresh look at things that really messed you up on paper before? And do they still make sense? If they make sense, 100% wait, and hedge your bets there. And then really consider quality of life in a weighted formula. I don't know if quality of life's weighted 50%, but the older you get, it gets up there more and more to me. So Anyway, that's my number one. Let's hop to number two. Okay, number two on my list, very different than number one, is that something I'm calling drive more, but drive better. And I'll explain. But this is a concept that I really was enlightened to based on talking to a lot of past clients and even my current agents. If you're from a metro, so we do a lot of New Jersey, downtown Chicago, Washington, D.C., several parts of New York, Seattle, right? You're from urban thoroughfares. Then these people get to Florida and they're like, I get in my car and drive more than I thought I was going to, and I was like, that's interesting. It's very true. I've lived mostly in Florida, but it's very true. Like, we don't have a lot of walkability. It's a short drive to a lot of things, in all the metros that we serve. But at the same time, everyone that said that was like, but it's better. I get in my car. I don't have as many like corner markets and everything's right down the street. It doesn't feel as urban, right? But at the same time, like, I'm not driving through smog and I'm not commuting to the Lincoln Tunnel and everyone's mad at each other. And, I'm someone that doesn't believe that many people should be packed in one place. People are just like tense all the time, right? They're like, it's just better. And I was like, I'm driving past palm trees and over water, and it feels more quaint all the time. And regardless of how busy the metro is in Florida, a lot of it feels like that. And I'll throw on top of that, infrastructurally, if you're considering like a Sarasota and a Naples, especially, then what's really important about those two is they're very much play first, work second. These towns were built on people getting to them after they made their money elsewhere, at end of career or flexible career. And why that really matters is a lot of towns like a Chicago or something like that, and we saw it all during COVID when people got the chance to make their own decisions, they're based on people rushing into a dense area that has all the stuff you need and then leaving, going into work, leaving after, right? Well, if a town's not built on that, then the same downtowns and that infrastructure is serving a different purpose. It's based on hospitality, which changes traffic patterns, timing. Everyone doesn't have to go the same place from 7 to 9 every single day. And that changes the quality of life severely on why people are doing what they're doing, even with an influx of more people coming to an area. It's an easier problem to solve. So what I would say based on that point as a takeaway is when you're looking at Sarasota, Tampa, Naples, wherever it may be, and you're looking at the conversation of Lakewood Ranch is too far, or where is Wesley Chapel to downtown Tampa, what is Alva, or what is North Fort Myers, or North Naples and Bonita Springs to Naples. And a lot of people get down to that 2 miles versus 5 miles versus 10 versus 15. You're considering all that. What I would say about that is it's not like the 7 miles versus 3 miles in New Jersey. It does not matter near as much. And let's say you're 5 miles from town. It's not that much closer. Like, if you want true walkability, you're either in it or you're not. You're either on the barrier island or not. 1 mile, it's not 1 minute. So what I would really lean into more, if 5 versus 10 miles doesn't matter at a macro level as much, then it's way easier to choose where you want to live. You lean into your house criteria more, what you want as a family, the amenities, if the 3-4 miles doesn't mess you up as much. Because I know your perspective is probably very, very different. Like, that could mean 30 minutes in traffic in the wrong town. So that's what I want to say about drive more, drive better. Also something that I would have never considered unless I spoke to enough people about it. So I think if you're not here yet, that's something you'll see as well. And let's move to number 3. Okay, number 3, are 55 and up active adult communities overrated? I speak to a lot of people that really honed in on this idea. They're talking about Del Webb, Crestwind, 55 and up in general. And you start peeling back the layers, asking more and more questions, you're navigating it, and almost 100% of the time, people don't want 55 and up because they want no kids in there, which is the on paper idea, right? Even though it's not completely true, that's the on paper idea. They really want, 1, specific amenities, but 2, more importantly, they want to find their crowd. They want to find like-minded people. And I had an agent on my team, David Salkin here with SSC, that told me one time that I thought was very poignant. It's like being a freshman in college over again. Like, you're moving here, a lot of other people are moving here too, but you don't know them. And you're all, even with your family you're trying to find your people. And what 55 and up gives you, the idea that it does is it takes out a variable. It's like, okay, I'm 55, I'm 59. At least it takes that out of the mix, and these people it's a better guess that they're going to be similar to me in some fashion. But what I would really look at is that these days, it's not near as important. Because 1, you could look at median and average age in all the areas we serve, and for the most part, it's not that far from there. And two, you can control a lot of the same things that you're trying to control with a lot of criteria. Price range, stylistic, the style of the amenities, the areas they're based. And it does the same exact thing, right? If you think about it, there's no guarantee anyway, right? If at 55 and up, you don't have, everyone in the household doesn't have to be 55. And I think they have their place. I would just say that I think you're really choosing, do you like that community? Del Webb without the age restrictions, great. Like for what it is, the amenities are amazing. It's a lot of resort style stuff that golf clubs have that you could have in here, like food and stuff like that, that without the golf need. Crestwin and Coulter build a fantastic home. But now that master plan is so big, Lakewood Ranch, Welland Park, what North Venice is going to be, the Wiregrass Ranch area, Epperson Lagoon area in Tampa, now that exists, I think the big key here is that you don't have to be in a specific neighborhood to serve that need. Because what master plan does is it lets 40 different neighborhoods of people exist at all these different things that they can apply their money to their house criteria, not the broad community. And then they come together for communal amenities. You can have your whole crowd and not be in the same neighborhood because there's 35 other neighborhoods right next door. You could be in the $5 million Lake Club or Wild Blue and be best friends with the empty nester in Nautique. Because of the clubs, the community events, the restaurants, the farmers markets. And that's something master plan does is, for the most part, most of the people that go to all these things live in that vicinity. Just like your kid goes to the school and plays sports and all his buddies. And if it's a private school and you live far away, then most people live in the vicinity still, right? It's the same idea, but for adults. So that's what I would say about the 55 and up. I would say pick the community you want to live in. It's not near as important as it is. And what you're really trying to solve can be solved in many, many, many other ways if you talk to the right people without having a guarantee of somebody telling you demographics. And let's hop to number 4. All right, number 4 is kind of a lighthearted one, but it's just as serious depending on who you are. And that's, are hurricanes and alligators going to kill me when you come to Florida? This is something I grew up in Sarasota, and I've lived in Tampa and Naples and West Palm Beach and Pensacola, and it's something the state has, right? What I didn't realize was the gravity of how many people will not live on a lake in their neighborhood because of the threat of alligators, and how many people talk about the hurricanes like they're a day-to-day thought. So the one thing I would say with this, with a bunch of asterisks, huge caveat, I don't control alligators. I don't know what's going to happen with hurricanes. I'm just putting that out there. I will tell you that when you get here, it's just like you're going to move to Texas and you're like, there's tarantulas there. And you're like, this isn't a day-to-day thought. Alligators are in almost every single lake of every neighborhood I've ever lived in. But unless you're walking your dog down to the water very slowly, or you're trying to tackle one, you got to be pretty unlucky for something, of gravity to happen in that respect. And then hurricanes are, it's weird to say is what it is situation. And there's definitely historical places to live in Florida that have had less impact. But it's part of it, right? Every awesome coastal area in the entire United States has volatility. It's just which one do you want to pick, right? Even inland places have tornadoes, right? There's no perfect recipe in that one. So I think it's just being cognizant of how far from the coast and the impact, the flood elevation of how when your house was built and how high it's built up. There's ways to mitigate it, but to live in fear of it is what no one does. People get here terrified. Like the amount of people in Lakewood Ranch that would not live on a lake because of the alligator threat, I was like really surprised by. Like I just never had thought about it growing up here. But I will tell you, when you get here and you're a year removed, there's not a single person that's thinking about that day to day. It like the comfort level gets immediate. And I think there's a lot more risk of things happening randomly in saltwater than the control of like snakes and alligators in your backyard here. All the pools are screened in as well. But anyway, just wanted to mention that. I know it's, I consider not putting it in here because I don't want to just be like, it's hot here and there's hurricanes and like that be the cons. But I do know it's still top of mind. I've talked to a lot of people recently. It's still communicated to us all the time. So I do want to at least cover it. There's ways to mitigate it 100%, not completely avoid it, ways to mitigate it. But I would not overweigh it in your calculation. Okay, my 5th and final one for this list is something that I'm calling, did you miss the new home construction boat? The new home boat. And that's along the lines of, I know a lot of folks feel like they missed the opportunity to get that win. Like all that stuff that happened in late 2020 and early 2021, the bidding, the overall increases in median costs that we might not be reversing, the low interest rate that's not coming back, and the new construction being built in the hot areas. And a lot of people feel like they're not going to get the area they want ever again. That's all played out. It's too mature now, and financially it's not near as attractive as it was. And some of those things may be very true. I do want to relay, though, that to think in any semblance in the Southwest Florida area that new construction opportunity is at maturity is completely not true. If you look at the plans, they are just at their infancy. As big as Lakewood Ranch is, I don't think it's 50% complete. If you look at the infrastructure of, let's say Sarasota first, you look at the infrastructure of Sarasota, what Lakewood Ranch is, beyond like their introduction of affordable housing and all that kind of thing, is where they're going to Bourneside and Central Sarasota and looping behind where Sky Ranch is. That's all Mayaca, that's all land, and it's halfway done, right? Parrish hasn't touched anything. Hi Hat Ranch has a plan to build to 2,050 plus, which hasn't built anything yet right now. Lennar and Pulte already have active applications to build. What North Venice, I've talked a lot about on this channel, I'm just working my way down Sarasota, Manatee County. What North Venice is, so below South Sarasota, Palmer Ranch, above Venice, above Welland, let's say Welland Park, above South Venice, North Venice to Nokomis and Osprey, just getting started. Welland Park, I think, said they're going 20, 30 more years connecting to Englewood. Infancy. Go to Tampa. Wesley Chapel, Zephyr Hills, Lutz, Brandon, Wamama, Riverview, Ruskin, where West Chase is in Western Tampa. These areas are just getting started. Like the Crystal Water Lagoon thing maybe came here first, but just getting started. Now there's 5. There's so much land, so much opportunity. And then even like Naples and Fort Myers is probably one of the most, I've been thinking about them a lot lately, probably one of the most compared to Sarasota, but the most it's the most confusing for people. Because what Naples is, in the true Naples, how people think of it, the downtown, it's pretty far south. It's like down there by Marco Island. It's got everything that people love about it historically, but it's older, and you got this group of 5 or 6 or 7 neighborhoods, like Aqualane Shores and all that are incredibly bougie. But then you got a whole huge mix of affordable condominiums, like $300,000 retirement condominiums. Then you go to the right of it, and you don't have Lakewood Ranch. You have Lehigh Acres and Alva. Babcock Ranch throws in there, but it's eco-friendly. Like no power even went out during the hurricane recently, and that's up in Punta Gorda. You have Cape Coral, the most canals, boatable canals and restaurants, more than Venice, Italy. And you got all this clustered around each other in these 2 counties. And everybody thinks of it Naples, but they don't know how to look at Fort Myers or any of that kind of stuff. That one hasn't, that's scratching the surface, the same thing. Naples looks a lot like Sarasota on paper, land-wise. So what Alva is and North Naples and where Mercado is and, east of FGCU, the Florida Gulf Coast University, like Corkscrew and all that, hasn't scratched the surface, right? So there is going to be such an abundance of new construction with the scarcity of housing that it's going to be incredible. If you could show inventory evenly in this realm, it would be very much a buyer leverage market when it comes to new construction. Because regardless of what's happening in the normal resale market, it's better for buyers to have more options. Leverage-wise, these are businesses. They can compete with each other. They have margin. They have incentives. And I think, what I want to say as a takeaway, I'm rambling here, but what I want to say as a takeaway is that I see a lot of people really stressed that they're not going to get an opportunity because they didn't catch that window of work from home. They still got 3 years to go, 5 years to go. And they're like, I'm not going to be able to get here ever. Like, I'm not going to be able to do it when it's complete. I don't think that's the case. I think you have time. I want to do something before you're ready. I want to wait just to wait, but I want to do something before you're ready. And this thing is going to look very different, arguably more interesting when there's more competition of master plan versus master plan. So I'll leave it at that. Hope you enjoyed this take, and let's wrap up. All right, my friends, that's a wrap of 5 things I would consider if you are moving to Florida in 2024. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, my name is Adam Hancock. Always enjoy getting a chance to relay information to you guys. Appreciate the support, if I don't say it enough. If you haven't grabbed the digital guide to Sarasota, get your hands on that. We also have a Tampa Bay digital guide, an updated new home specific, and a Naples updated. And that's just to name a few that are on my website, which we'll put all the stuff here. I also own a brokerage of the same name, the Sunshine State Company. Florida-wide, everything, full-scale residential, anything you want to do, condominiums, new, resale, relocation, everything in between. We do specialize in net migration. So if you are considering, if you resonate with this content at all and you're considering making a move, we have a really interesting organization. I would encourage you to have a conversation, if anything, whether you're ready now or not, and see how what we provide as far as like a team. You get a lot more than like single agencies, just because the more we learn about what you guys are trying to do, the more we try to satiate those needs from data and individual agent capacity and broker support and financial acuity and all that kind of thing. So thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one.